The storm came down from the mountains like a living thing, howling, clawing, and swallowing the land whole, the kind of storm old cowboys whispered about by firelight and prayed, never to meet alone. And Ethan Cole knew, from the first crack of thunder, that night that this was no ordinary blizzard, because the sky didn't just darken, it hardened. The wind cutting like knives through his coat as his horse reared in panic, snow blinding him until the world became nothing but white rage, and it was there, between one heartbeat and the next, that he saw her, an Apache woman pressed against the trunk of a frozen oak, her dress soaked, her shawl stiff with ice, arms wrapped around a small child whose face was pale with cold and fear. And in that moment Ethan's past came roaring back, the war, the blood, the orders he followed and the ones he regretted, because she was Apache and he was a cowboy, who had once ridden with men who burned villages and called it duty, and every instinct screamed at him to turn away. But the child's cry cut through the storm like a bullet to the chest, and Ethan dismounted, boots sinking into snow as deep as graves, lifting his hand slowly so she could see he meant no harm, her eyes fierce and distrustful, the eyes of someone who had learned the world was cruel long before this storm arrived. And she didn't speak, didn't beg, didn't plead. She simply tightened her grip on the child, as the wind screamed louder. And that was when Ethan noticed the child's lips had turned blue, small body shivering violently, and something broke inside him, because storms don't care about history, about hate, about borders, and neither does death. So he tore open his coat and wrapped it around the child, ignoring the way the woman flinched. His fingers numb as he lifted the child carefully, whispering words he didn't know she could understand but hoped she could feel, telling her they had to move, that there was an old trapper's cabin not far if they could reach it, though in truth he wasn't sure it still stood. And the storm punished every step, wind pushing them sideways, snow choking breath from lungs, the woman stumbling but refusing to let go of the child. And when she finally collapsed to her knees, Ethan hoisted the child higher and pulled the woman up, shouting over the wind that he would not leave them, not now, not ever. And the storm seemed to answer with a thunderclap so violent it shook the earth beneath them, trees cracking like gunshots, branches crashing down behind them. And just when Ethan's legs began to fail and the child's breathing grew dangerously shallow, he saw it, the cabin half buried in snow, leaning like a drunk but standing, stubborn as the people who once built it, and they stumbled inside, Ethan slamming the door shut against the storm as darkness swallowed them whole, the only sound the child's weak breaths and the woman's shaking sobs. And by the light of a single match Ethan started a fire, stripping off frozen layers, rubbing the child's hands, praying silently to a god he hadn't spoken to since the war, while the woman watched him like a hawk, ready to strike if he betrayed her trust. And when the fire finally took and warmth crept back into the child's body, the woman spoke for the first time, her voice low, broken, asking in halting English why he helped them. And Ethan had no answer. That made sense except the truth, that some storms don't come to destroy you, they come to show you who you really are. And as the wind raged outside like it wanted to tear the world apart, something fragile and dangerous began inside that cabin. Hope. And if you want to know what happened next, what secret the woman carried, and how this night would change all their lives forever, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because this story has only just begun. Morning did not come gently. It crept in through cracks in the cabin walls, pale and cold, revealing the damage the storm had done. Trees uprooted, snow piled like graves against the door, and inside, 3 souls bound together by a night that should have killed them all, the child sleeping fitfully by the fire, color slowly returning to her cheeks, while the Apache woman sat awake, eyes never leaving Ethan. And when he finally stirred, she spoke his name before he offered it, and that alone sent a chill through him, colder than the storm ever could, because she knew who he was, knew the ranch brand on his saddle, knew the men he once rode with. And as the fire crackled, she told him the truth. The child was not just her daughter, but the last of her bloodline. Her people hunted not by soldiers now, but by men who wanted land, gold, and silence. Men who would kill a child without hesitation if it meant erasing the past. And Ethan realized the storm hadn't been the real danger. It had been mercy, a shield that hid them from those closing in. Because as if summoned by the words, a distant gunshot echoed across the frozen valley, followed by voices, and the woman reached for a knife, her body tense, ready to fight to the death, while Ethan loaded his rifle with hands that no longer shook from cold but from choice. because standing with her meant crossing a line he could never step back from. And when the door burst open and 3 armed men stormed in, faces hard and cruel, calling the woman a savage and the child a bounty, Ethan stood between them, gun raised, and told them to leave. And when they laughed, he fired, not to kill but to warn, the shot tearing through the beam above their heads. And in that moment the past burned away. The uniform he once wore, the orders he once followed, replaced by something stronger. And the gunfight that followed was fast and brutal, snow spraying, echoes cracking through the valley until the men fled, leaving blood and silence behind. And when it was over, Ethan collapsed against the cabin wall, breath ragged, knowing there would be consequences, knowing there was no riding back to the life he once knew. And the woman approached him slowly, placed her hand over his, and said a word in her language that meant, "Protector." And Ethan felt something he hadn't felt since he was a boy, belonging. And days later, when the storm's aftermath cleared and the path opened, Ethan didn't ride away, didn't leave them to fate, instead escorting them beyond the valley to a place no map marked, a place where the child could grow without fear. And as he watched them disappear into the distance, the woman turned back one last time, her eyes no longer filled with fear but trust. And Ethan knew the storm had taken everything from him, his past, his name, his old life, but had given him something far greater, redemption. And if this story shocked you, moved you, or made you believe that even in the darkest storms humanity can still shine, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more powerful Wild West stories like this are coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next.